Just 2 weeks after the devastating fire at Notre Dame in Paris, I'm at York Minster, itself a beacon of hope, having survived a fire in 1984, to explore the deep connection between architecture, art and the Christian faith. Welcome to Songs of Praise. Also in this week's programme, following the Easter bomb attacks, churches throughout the world will be praying for the people of Sri Lanka today. We hear from Sri Lankan Christians here in the UK about how, even in the darkest days, unity and peace are being found.
Even the Muslim brothers, they are together. They invited our church people to come into their mosque if you want to do the worship.
We hear how York Minster's restoration after a fire offers hope after the events in Paris and reflect on what Notre Dame means to the people of France.
There is something really poignant seeing the picture of the cross in the middle of the rubble, saying that whoever you are, wherever you are, there is hope.
And at the National Gallery in London, I discover how the skill of an artist can draw us deeper into the stories of the Bible. When footage began to emerge of flames engulfing one of France's most important religious buildings, the sense of shock was felt around the world. The great cathedral of Notre Dame de Paris, meaning Our Lady of Paris, has watched over the city for more than 8 centuries. We'll be exploring why these great houses of worship hold such a place in our hearts. But we begin with a hymn from another church called Our Lady here in York. Notre Dame attracted many millions of tourists each year, and yet for the people of France, it holds a much deeper significance. Isabel Hamley is a chaplain to the Archbishop of Canterbury here at Lambeth Palace in London and is from Bourges in central France.
My phone had an alert saying Notre Dame on fire with a picture, and my heart just stopped. Suddenly I thought about all kinds of things, about history, about national identity, about all the different parts of French life that are connected in and around Notre Dame. The reaction to Notre Dame burning was extraordinary. I had a text from a close friend who is not a Christian at all, who was saying, I'm in tears watching it, and couldn't even explain it. And some of it was about this past, this beautiful art, this sense of connection with something that is so French, so deep within that we can't even explain it. There is something really poignant and moving about the fact that this happened in Holy Week, in a week where we think about darkness and the pain of the world, but then seeing the picture of the cross in the middle of the rubble, saying that whoever you are, wherever you are, there is hope.
For some, the images from Paris brought back vivid memories of what happened in York 35 years ago.
A major fire has this morning badly damaged York Minster. Part of it is gutted and the roof of the south transept was completely collapsed.
The fire took hold in the early hours of the 9th of July 1984, to the horror of those who lived and worked in the Minster community.
I lived very close to the Minster. I was woken by a neighbour who came knocking on the door and told me the south transept was on fire. So my instinct, I just went out and had a look. And I realised that then it was obviously quite serious, so I went inside where you began to hear the roof started to come down onto the floor and the big thumps. It was heartbreaking, really.
Just give us an idea of how long it takes to restore.
It took us 4 years, but the first year of that was basically planning.
Well, first of all, you've got to assess the damage, because when you take a big structure like a roof off the building might move. It might have been in a poor state of repair before that. Whether or not you use automated machinery, you have to know how they actually were put together in the first place in order to use the machinery properly. We had to increase our workforce because we didn't have enough craftspeople.
We had to study the remains of the old vaulting to basically see how it was put together.
So having been in this position yourself, what would your message be to the workers and community at Notre Dame?
I would say have no fear, the building could be restored to its former glory.
Yeah, we did it, so I'm sure they can do it.
But it wasn't just the structure of the building that needed to be conserved. York Minster is home to one of Europe's finest collections of historic stained glass, including a magnificent rose window.
It was clear that the window had survived. It was still in place, which in itself seemed miraculous. Getting it down in one piece was the first challenge, but then it was clear that the glass had suffered, as often happens in a fire, lots of little micro cracks.
The team discovered a total of 40,000 cracks in the window that were then painstakingly glued back together with clear resin. The window was back in place just 3 years later.
Glass is made through melting silica so that the glass can withstand very high levels of heat. The problem is that the window is made of a matrix of glass and lead. So initially all the solder melts away and then this matrix becomes quite fragile. So we were lucky that this was a summer fire, not a winter fire, when there might of course have been high winds blowing. We have skill, we have knowledge, and we have, the talents in our young craftspeople who really can bring about these kind of resurrections in these great buildings.
Obviously there'll be people who'll see the hundreds of millions of pounds being donated to Notre Dame at the moment and say, well, in a needy world, why is that important? What would you say to that?
I think I'd want to say that we don't actually have to choose one or the other. If we were only spending money on buildings and ignoring the poor and the needy, of course, that would be outrageous. But if these buildings, part of the purpose of them is that they are inspirational, they lift our eyes and our hearts and our minds beyond what we're just involved with on an everyday basis. So that I think there's a place for buildings like this of beauty, just as there is for art, for painting, for music. And as I say, I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's a question of both.